Hello, Gary Simon here of DesignCourse.com. Today is January 28th with, again, our 28th video of the year. And we are going to take our iPhone Breathalyzer and create a homepage design mock-up in Photoshop CC. So it's going to be based on a 12-grid system, and if you have no idea what that means, basically we have the intention of making this responsive, and a grid system helps organize the HTML and CSS, and basically we're going to try to stick within using the grids to format and structure our layout. So again, if this is confusing, don't worry, you'll understand as we progress into the HTML and CSS in the next couple days. So as always, check out DesignCourse.com. The project files are available for free, and you will need them for the grid and all that stuff. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is go ahead and download the project files either on DesignCourse.com or YouTube here in the description. And once you download that zip file and extract it, these will be the files you see. We want to open up Grid, and so this is going to be the document where we design the actual site. So unfortunately, I'm not on a bigger resolution for this tutorial, so I'm at 66.7%. Basically, I want to see the whole thing. And right here we see these guides. They're basically the grid system that we're going to use for our HTML and CSS to make it responsive, and also try to basically just line everything up here. So if you don't understand what this is, you'll see how it all comes together at the end of the tutorial when we get to the HTML and CSS part. Alright, so to get rid of the guides, I'm going to be hitting Control H, and basically what that does is view extras. It'll show and hide that. So that's just for your reference. So the website background we're going to leave white. So we'll just leave it at that. Now the next thing we want to do is in the credits, in the description of this video on YouTube here, you can go ahead and bring up, where the hell is it? One second. This right here. Okay, so this is, I found this image first by, let me hit this. By this site. This is a handy site if you need to try to find images that are under the Creative Commons license. So I just typed in bar, I think, and that image came up. And so what we want to do is download this and come over here, hit download, and then we want the one that's original. So just click on that, wait for it to load, right click and copy image here in Chrome. And we'll come back, or you could save it to your desktop, do whatever. And then we want to open that up, or paste it in rather. Control V. Alright, so as you can see, we're not going to be leaving, we're going to be pretty heavily blurring this thing out. So what I want to do is go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And we're going to want something that's around 27.8 pixels. You don't have to be exact, but just something around here. And then I'm also going to apply an adjustment layer. So if you click on this for adjustments, and we go to hue and saturation, and then click this little icon, this means it will only apply to this layer, not all the layers. We'll take down the hue or the saturation rather, just around there. Alright, so now what I want to do is open up the phone top. Alright, so as you can see, I cut it out from my top render, and also this is not the version of the phone that I created in the tutorial in the previous lessons. This is the one I created first before I recorded everything. I think that one worked out kind of better, but no big deal. If you want to use this one, you know, it's in the project files, you can use it, or you can use your own that you did for your renders. And all you have to do to cut yours out, I mean, it's very simple. Here's all I did. You know, you zoom up pretty close, you take that pen tool, make sure path is selected, and then you just go around the entire outline with the pen tool, you know, using, you know, shift to make perfect vertical and horizontal lines, and then just go around the whole thing. Once you have it all cut out, for example, let's just assume ours was, just go to right click, make selection, make sure anti-alias is selected, hit OK. And if it inverts your selection like that, go to select inverse and then Control C to copy, and that cuts it out of the background. All right, so what we want to do is Control A and then Control C and Control V to paste that thing in. All right, so let's see here. Now I'm going to work on the actual navigation. So I'm going to call this phone top first, and I'm going to take the rectangle tool, and black is selected, that's what we'll use, and we'll hold Alt and come down, maybe right around here. Control H to get rid of that view twice, and we're going to give it an opacity around 62%. I'll call this nav bar, and I'm not going to really focus on creating a logo. It's just going to be a type logo, and make sure white is selected, and I'm just going to bring up a grid. I'm going to click right here in this first one, and I'm going to type in BAC STR, and right now left align that, and let me go ahead and get rid of the grid view. I'm going to go 100%, and we want this to be smooth, and Control T, hold Shift and scale it up right around there. And I'm going to use a font called Sertig or whatever, and that's right here. Okay, and then I'm going to also duplicate that, Control Shift D, or right click and hit duplicate layer. And if your hotkey isn't set up for that, you can just go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and find your way through there to create your shortcuts. Just gonna scale it up, Control T, Shift Alt, and select Move Tool, hit Apply. All right, get rid of this. Let's zoom out here. All right, so far so good. Now let's take a look at this grid here. Basically, the position of this, let me find the Baxter copy and phone top. We'll just take both of those and hit Control G. All right, and I'll just type the phone top. Now if we take auto select group, we can move this, oops, I'm gonna lock that. We can move this around. And so, this will span the width of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll center this image when we get to the HTML and CSS. So right around there. And then we're going to have some text over here, but first I want to get the nav up there going. So we'll go ahead and take the type tool, and we're going to use Source Sans Pro. That's kind of the free font that I use in most of my videos. It works well. And before I change that, we're going to, I think, roughly right around here, starting at the 6th, or wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, right here. Just drag out all the way the width of those 6 columns. And I'm just going to type in some navigation menu links. So I'm typing shop for my first, and we'll be adjusting the size of all this. And I'm just going to space out some arbitrary amount, and then take all that and copy it, and then just paste it in 4 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm going to get rid of the grid view for a second here. We want to put this up top. I want to go to 100% just so I can see what's going on. I'm going to quickly adjust these details. FAQ, as in frequently asked questions, help, and contact, whatever. And I'm going to go to Source Sans Pro, and we'll leave it at white, I believe, and then we'll change the font size. I'm going to try 16. Let me zoom out here, get up our grid. And let me deselect that and just push this over here to the beginning one right there. All right, so that's the nav. And now down here we want to get started with our main headline. And so what we'll do is, let me zoom back out so I can't, because I can't see everything. It's a pain recording the tutorials with this smaller resolution. I'm used to a lot bigger. But anyhow, no big deal. Let's get our grid out here and with a type tool. And I'm going to select, I think, right around here. And just drag out, left click, all the way to the right. I think right here would be good. And I'm going to type in the first. Oh wait, I have my caps set. The first iPhone breathalyzer. All right, take this. We're going to make this pretty big. Maybe not 36, 48. I think that'll work well. I'm going to take that down to like 40, I think. No, 44. All right. And then I'm going to just duplicate that. Control-Shift-D. Pull this down. Take the font size to, let's try like 18 maybe. That looks kind of small. Yeah, it does. Try like 21. And I'm just going to type in real quick. Never again take a chance on the streets without knowing your blood alcohol content. BAC. With a 99, I'm making us all up obviously, 0.5% accuracy. Baxter has your back. Okay. Exciting. All right, so make sure we change this to sharp, and that changes it, you know, more realistic to what it would, how the text would render in a browser. All right, and so come down, oops, Control and left click will kind of do the same thing if auto select were selected. So that lets you select the layer. Now let me just zoom out a bit. Use your up and down arrow keys to space this out. And then I'm going to have a call to action button, which is simply, something the user can interact with. And a button is certainly that. So we'll take the grid up here, and with a 3% or 3 pixel radius, we'll alt and drag out to the width of 4, I believe. And we'll see if that works well. Hide that, get this out of the way. And we want to make the color something that will stick out pretty well. Hit OK. And then hit Control H to get rid of that, or hit it twice rather. And then we want to go ahead and just put the text here. Order your Baxter now. Control T, Shift, scale that down. Select the Move tool, hit Apply. And if you want to make that regular so it sticks out just a little bit more, that would probably work. Control T, scale it back down again, hit Apply. Alright, so I think I want to move some things around vertically. So auto select group right here. We'll take these layers holding Shift and selecting them all, and just kind of moving them up a little bit. Alright, so this view, this design that we're doing is kind of the design, the appearance that will be presented in the viewport, the browser, on a larger screen. And so when it comes to responsive web design, we will also be, with HTML and CSS, we have to kind of imagine, how this is going to look when the browser or the viewport is smaller. So going from like a desktop size, maximized window, and then going to like a tablet size, how are these things going to be adjusted? Well, this will get smaller a little bit on a tablet type of viewport, and so will this, and the space between these two elements basically will also shorten. And then on a phone, when you get to that type of width, things will kind of get stacked on top of each other. So we'll see what, how that works when we get to that point. All right, so real quick, I'm going to click on the background layer, and I'm going to take the rectangle tool, and just click at the very top left outside of the document, hold Alt, and I'm going to go right around here. You kind of want there to be an even space between the top of this and the bottom of this. And then we're going to right click on this and select Create Clipping Mask. So the only thing that gets shown in here is, based on the height and width right here. So that's what a clipping mask does. All right, so now we have this top portion basically done. Now we want to come down here and add some more content. So let's go to File, Open from the project files, and we want the phone perspective. Now this was, again, the one that I did before I recorded the tutorial, but it's basically very close to whatever, we did when we went through the tutorial. So just Control C, copy that, Control V to paste, Control T, scale down, hold Shift. So we want to go pretty small, but before I do that, I should have got the grid up. Let's get that grid. Okay, Control T, we'll scale this down, and I want this to be the width of 2 of the grids, or columns rather. So I think right here, hit apply, and then I want to take the type tool, and I'm going to drag out to 4. Right there, okay. And I'll just type in but first let me switch back, and just so we can see this text, make it black. It's pretty large, so let me hide that. We'll go to light, change this to, let's think here, maybe like 16. Now, why is it doing that so messed up? Let me see, 20. We'll leave it there for now. If you're under your limit, you're good to know, and your Baxter will be lit green. I'm just thinking of this stuff off the top of my head. Okay, yeah, I wanted 3 lines. I didn't know what else to put. That's it. All right, so yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna get this down a bit more to 18. And actually, I'm going to move this again. Makes more sense to get that line filled up over there a little bit more. So I'm going to move it here vertically in the center here. And I'm going to zoom out. And now we're going to duplicate these two. So I'm going to select, with auto select, layer on here, the text, and hold Shift and take that layer, duplicate it, or them rather, and we'll take the grid up and make sure this is aligned properly. So let's just use my left arrow keys and get rid of the grid view. Take this, and now ordinarily, if this is a serious product, I would get a screenshot of the video when we had the red thing going and use a different number, but just for the purposes of this, we can just go ahead, image adjustment, hue saturation, take this down to a reddish, or a red color rather, right around there, and then, well, let me zoom up so we can see this. If you're over your limit, you'll certain with this is so stupid, this ad copy, but that's okay, or this copy rather. You'll know it for certain with behind a car. You'll okay. Or behind a car. Who's the idiot? All right, a wheel. You're an idiot. Okay, let me move this over. it's a little bit purple in there. That's what happens sometimes. These weren't the same exact colors, but that's fine. All right, so let me zoom out here just to kind of get an idea of what things look like. Right away, I think these are too big. So I'm going to scale this down, Control-T, select both of them, right around there. So I'm holding Shift and Alt and scaling those down, hit Apply. Get our grid out just so we can make sure this is all aligned properly. Now, basically, even though this isn't the exact width to grid columns, we can still center it like that, and we'll do that in the HTML and CSS rather. And now things, these are a little bit too big. It was squished up a little bit, so now we fixed that. Now I just want to take these 4 layers, I want to shift and just move them up a little bit. I do want a lot of wave space, but too much and it doesn't make sense. All right, so right around there. And then we want to go ahead and take the rectangle tool, and we're going to work on our final section. And we'll make it right around there. We could adjust the size if we need to in a bit. And Control H to get rid of that twice. And we want to take the color and I'm going to use E5, E5, E5 for the hex code. And then we're going to open up phone side. So hit Control A and then Control C to copy that. And then Control V to paste that in. Now, here's what I did. Basically, I did what I did with the other one, and I just cut it out with the pen tool. But I also added a shadow underneath it. And just real quickly to show you, if you really did want to use your own phone and you want the same kind of effect, all I did was take the brush tool, and you would create a new layer underneath your phone that was cut out like this. Control Shift N, and then you would take a black color, and then with a large feather brush like 600, you just click once there, hit Control T, and then drag it down, holding Alt, something right around there, and then you could adjust the size like this, holding Alt, and then you move it kind of underneath, hit Apply, and then you could adjust the opacity as needed, and then you take both of those layers, hit Control E to merge them. That's all I did. All right, so now let's move this down, and we are going to want this to be a little bit bigger. Control T, right around there. Put this near the bottom. Okay, so this is what everything looks like so far. And up here I'm going to have like 3 sort of testimonial type things. So what I'm going to do is go to File, Open, and I'm going to open up my image. Control A, Control C, copy that, close it out, and then go ahead and get our grid up. And I want my head to be basically, let me try to think about this here. 3. Yeah, these are going to be 4 columns each because we're going to have 3 of them. And so and they're all going to be centered. So right in between these 4, we can hold Shift and take out this ellipse, maybe right around here. Let me just hide that temporarily. And then I'm going to hit Control Shift N for a new layer, select Create Clipping Mask, hit OK. And then I'm going to Control V to paste in my image. And usually it just pastes right in the center. If you take this lasso tool, you'll see it's right there. The reason we can't see it though is because this is a clipping mask and it will only show in there. So we could take the Move tool, just unselect that. Control T, scale this down, Shift and Alt, whatever, right there. All right, and then if we wanted to, you don't have to do this. I'm going to though. Stroke, we'll take it up to like 5, I think. Make it white. Hit OK, and hit OK. Okay, so now let's get our grid back, and we're going to have some text. And it's going to need to be centered, and we're going to drag out to the width of 4 of these columns. So we'll center it, and then we'll put Gary's story. Now we don't see it because it is accidentally a clipping mask. So if you just drag it to the top, it'll drag it back down. That'll work. And then I'll zoom up here to 100% and get rid of the grid. And then down here, I'm just going to hit enter and type in, it literally saved my life. I could have died. All right, and end quotation there. And then let's take this. I'm going to move over here and go ahead, take this, and we're going to make it just a slightly lighter color here. And yeah, let me see if we're using 18. I think that would be fine. It's kind of hard to visualize the scale of things when you're working in such a small resolution. You can't see the whole thing at 100%, but I think that'll work. So I'm going to take auto select layer here, take these layers, kind of move them a little bit, holding shift vertically, and then I'm going to get the grid, deselect auto select layer, Control Shift D to copy those, and then just do the same thing right here, and then duplicate it again and put this over here. All right, and then this is not centered, this image, which, oops, just Control and left click to select that, and I think right around there is fine. All right. So what's going to happen with these, you know, when you take the viewport window and you pull it in, or you're looking at on some type of mobile device. And by the way, I'm looking at this. I want to fix this real quick. Take this, and that'll allow us to use auto select layer, and then just take all of these layers. And you want to not select that that bar scene, so just hit Control left click. Now it's selected all these layers. I can move them up because this was not even. Let's see here. You want an even distance between the bottom of this and the top of that, and that looks pretty good. All right, and let me just click on this again. Yeah, I think that it looks pretty good. And so what I was saying, you know, if you're looking at this through like a tablet, this would kind of it's going to get a little bit smaller, and then a phone, these will get stacked on top of each other. Same thing with this, and this will just kind of automatically scale down. So I'm going to end the design there. Obviously we could create a footer and stuff, but just for the purpose of getting your feet wet with responsive web design, this is more than enough to get started. All right, so of course tomorrow I will be releasing the first part of the HTML, and you know that might be a two-step process, because before we even get to the HTML, we have to save out our images and get those kind of extracted from this document in a sense, and then probably just get the HTML document set up and ready to go. All right, so of course check out designcourse.com if you haven't yet. Subscribe here on YouTube, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, goodbye.